Hey y'all, this is Harmony from Make It Weird. You may notice that the audio quality in these next few episodes doesn't sound quite as nice as it usually does. That's because it's not as nice. We made a small boo-boo while recording a few episodes, but as the great Alanis Morissette once said, you live, you learn. We'll have things back to our normal, crystal clear quality starting on mini-episode number 7. Allegedly. Thank y'all for listening and being patient as Haley and I navigate the scary podcast world. Enjoy the episode and keep it weird. Bye!
Hello! And welcome to Make It Weird. The miniature weirds. The mini weirds.
Yeah, the mini weird, the mini tiny weird small ones.
The itty bitty weird. It just popped out of the womb. It's actually an infant.
A little tiny baby infant child, barely even breathing.
Welcome to the intimate mini episode. The intimini of weird. Don't touch me. I have a bug on my shirt.
I actually have a ladybug problem in this office.
Do you really? I saw one.
When it was warmer, I would catch 15 a day.
Oh.
It's kind of cute, but at the same time, it's did I call someone? That can't be normal, right?
No, it's totally normal.
Really?
Yes, it actually really is.
Oh,
yeah.
Interesting.
It's totally fine.
Okay, but it was only in this room.
No worries.
That's when I went and bought a couple of scratch-offs because I looked up what ladybugs mean, and someone said luck, so.
How much did you win?
$2!
Actually?
Yes!
Oh my god, that's incredible.
I never brought it in because it felt like too much effort, so it's in garbage. I hope someone finds it and cashes in my $2.
That really should be a news headline. And if it was, it would make its way into our Headline-a-thon.
Headline-a-thon!
Happy Headline-a-thon
time,
days, everybody. Would you like to start us out? I think you have more than I do, so.
I would love to start us out. Great. I forgot, I actually do have 5, so I can table us at the end. Table
Okay.
us? Cap us. Cap. Bookend.
Kappa.
That's the word. Kappa Kappa Gamma.
Kappa Delta Gamma.
Exactly.
Kappa Kappa Alpha? I don't know anything.
Speaking of sororities.
Oh.
Not.
Oh.
Bible removed from Texas school district after law banning sexually explicit content backfires.
I almost picked that headline. It got cut out of my list yesterday. I love that one.
Well, we had the first occurrence of picking the same headline. It's just that she had it planned for this episode.
I did.
So now she had to go look up a new one.
We're recording a couple episodes on the same day, 4 of them, because I'm going to be out of the area for a while. So
yeah, she need some space for me, to be honest.
Honestly, yeah.
And it's mutual, so I think it's fine.
Oh, it's for the best. U.S. spending tens of millions of dollars maintaining seized $230 million yacht linked to sanctioned Russian oligarch.
Great. I love to know that's where my money goes.
There's nowhere better. Oh, hey, speaking of ships in the U.S., by the way, Jimmy Carter died today.
Correct. When this comes out, it will be very old news to you, but
I just literally
happened.
found out about it, and my little fucking heart broke. I love Jimmy Carter.
It.
I was very upset. Anyway.
Man arrested for calling 911 17 times to get a ride to Wawa.
Did he get the ride?
I don't know. I hope so. For those who are not in the South, Wawa is a gas station.
I thought Wawa was like a New Jersey thing.
They also have them in Florida.
I believe that. People that
Maybe it's just an East Coast thing, because we didn't have them in Texas.
We didn't have them in South Carolina, in Charleston.
There were some more inland in South Carolina, like in the rural areas.
We don't have them in Connecticut either.
No, we don't.
Do you know what gas station I really miss? Cumbies. Cumberland Farms.
Farms.
There's not a lot here. And the one that's down the street from us is not very good. Kind of sketches me out. Okay. KFC turns iconic chicken bucket lid into playable vinyl record. Yeah.
How many times can we talk about KFC in the span of this podcast?
If I get a KFC headline in every minisode, I will be so satisfied.
That will be amazing.
Thank you. I'll make that. I'll actually try to prioritize at least once a month, the KFC update.
Bobby was telling me that Colonel Sanders actually had a really fucking interesting life and his whole the start of KFC and everything. So
I had heard a little bit about that on a podcast a few years ago, but I don't remember any of it.
Bookmark it for later.
We should talk about too whenever it talks about that, why Colonel Sanders in a dating simulator. Did you ever hear about this?
No.
Yes, it was a thing that made hot Colonel Sanders a couple of years ago. It was part of their marketing campaign.
Oh.
And there was a Colonel Sanders rom-com.
That's incredible.
Oh my god, it's so ridiculous.
Oh man. Bridge collapses just as a man records a video denouncing lack of maintenance. So I believe it was a government official.
Oh my god.
Somewhere in India?
Why you have so many stories from India?
Listen, I love India. You know this about me. Everyone does.
She always goes, I love Indians.
True. It is my tagline, as they say. Literally never said that before.
What are you talking about? You say it every day.
You love Indians. You've always said it. Everyone else says it. You've seen all 5 movies. Oh my god. But yeah, anyway, so government official was trying to like get movement to fix this bridge, and he's taking a video in front of it, like pointing out the cracks, pointing out the problems, and it collapses on video.
That's like horrific, but also incredible. Nobody was hurt, I'm guessing?
I don't know.
Okay.
It didn't seem like there was a lot of traffic on it, so hopefully not. And it wasn't like a huge bridge.
Okay.
But not good.
Definitely not good.
Yeah.
Tenants sue landlord and win. Court accidentally hands money to landlords. Quote, pure madness.
Wait,
Yeah.
hands money to the wrong person?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so the courts ruled in favor of the tenants when the tenants went to get their money. This was 9 months ago. The courts, somebody had miswritten something.
Mhm.
And so the courts had enacted the written out judgment. Well, the like following the judgment, you have the actions that you have to take.
Mhm.
And those actions were to give the money to the winners, but they instead wrote the names of the plaintiffs, which
Yeah.
kind of a big fuck up. It's been 9 months and they still don't have their money. Yeah.
Because you can never just, in the government and the justice system, you can never just fix something.
Mm-mm.
Like, it has to go through 20,000 different hoops, if it ever even gets there.
We love bureaucracy.
Yeah. Bureaucracy.
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 We love Barack Obama.
Barack Obama-cy. Netflix execs tell screenwriters to have characters, quote, announce what they're doing so that viewers who have a program on in the background can follow along.
I saw that too. Listen to a podcast at that point.
We're all creating ADHD for ourselves. No one can sit still and do anything anymore, including myself. I cannot sit still and do something.
Really?
No.
We'll strap you down.
Okay.
Cover your face in a rag with ether. Like they did
Honestly, well, no, not
to
that part.
Elaine in Nosferatu.
So, like, honestly, if someone strapped me down and they were like, this is what you have to do, it takes the decision and control away from me, so I would probably be very relaxed. You know what I mean? It's kind of it's kind of like when you go to, like, get your nails done. It's like, I'm here, and there's nothing I can do about it, and someone else is in control. I don't know. I feel so relaxed in those appointments. Like, I don't have to make a decision for the next hour and a half.
But you don't feel relaxed when you get a tattoo done.
Not usually.
Why do you have alphabet nails and I have Galindo nails? Sorry.
It's pretty cute.
Popular.
You're going to be popular. Best
Anyway.
rendition so far.
Agreed. That was my last story. So
Oh, okay,
but
one more, right? Just one more.
Yeah.
Teenager bites into candy jawbreaker and breaks her jaw.
Bro, was she sucking radium out of like paintbrushes? Oh my god.
I mean, if you legitimately do try to bite one of those, because it's not really what you're supposed to do,
Oh, you'll crack your fucking teeth.
you will definitely crack your teeth. Breaking the jaw is pretty extreme, so
Yeah.
it's almost like she was trying to prove something.
I don't know, maybe she had like a bone density deficiency or something.
Maybe.
There was so there's this place in Providence, Rhode Island called, I think it's called Level 99. It's like a puzzle room action park kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like you do different challenges and stuff.
Yeah.
And a girl that I am friends with, they all went out together. It was like a whole group of people from LARP, and she went and did like this tiny little zip line thing. Nobody had told her that the medicine she was on lowered her bone density. She landed the wrong way and broke her leg.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
And you're like very strapped into those things. Like they keep you pretty safe.
Yeah.
So that
And it wasn't even like a really high zip line. It was
the
like,
amount of times, I'm sorry to cut you off, the amount of times that I have spoken to people, and myself included, who are on a medication and learn a long time later, either they're still taking it or they've stopped taking it, about some kind of side effect or thing they
Mhm.
shouldn't have been doing, or they weren't taking it correctly, and doctors don't fucking tell you.
yeah. And then like, Well, even like the story that I talked about in my last episode, like the full, there's this issue, especially with women, where doctors downplay the symptoms that they're having.
Right.
They completely outright ignore them, or they're like, they'll say, well, if you lost weight, or well, have you considered birth control, or getting off birth control, or X, Y, and Z? And it's like, some of those things aren't options for us. Treat us with the problems we have now, not with the things that could potentially pop up later if we lost 10 pounds.
Oh, I have a handful, if not more, of mostly women who have talked about going to the doctor and having to find other doctors and go like filter through them to find one that would actually take them seriously. Because a lot of times it's like, I don't know what's going on. It could be anxiety. It could be blah, blah, blah. Either way, it's real.
Yeah.
What you're feeling is real, even if it's mental versus physical. Mental can also cause physical.
Absolutely.
And that happens to me all the time. But like, for example, when I was younger, like 15 or so, and I was not sexually active because I was told that if you did that, you went straight to hell.
The street where it's fun.
Exactly. But I had horrible acne, and so the dermatologist put me on birth control. No one told me you were supposed to take that at the same time every day, or it does not work.
We talked about that.
Yes, it doesn't fucking work. And I'm 15 years old. Good thing I wasn't having sex because it wouldn't have fucking worked.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I've seen some stuff coming out now that some of the newer iterations of pills, and it depends on like the fucking hormone that your pill is, because you have estrogen pills, progesterone pills, combination pills. They're all so different, and some of them it's like as long as you take it within 24 hours. It doesn't matter if it's the exact hour, but it's
and I think. Sorry, go ahead.
No, they should fucking tell you that though. Like regardless,
they literally get you in there. They're like, here's birth control prescription. They get you out. Like, he didn't want anything to talk to me about anything. The other thing, too, is that my insurance kept changing the brand of birth control.
Oh, yeah.
So that means it also wasn't working.
Yeah.
And I know that they'd be like, oh, it's the same. It's just, like,
the
now under it. Yeah. But it definitely wasn't the same because I would start getting headaches and stuff. And I was going through a new, like, cycle of getting used to a new birth control.
No, I hate how much birth control is pushed with how little information is given out about birth control.
Yes, I got off it because I was scared of blood clots.
Yeah.
Like, and a million other things.
Well, I think you and I talked about it too. I know we're on like a fucking birth control tangent, which whatever. When I was in New York and I wasn't on birth control, but I knew I needed to get back onto it because I have really, really painful cramps that like I vomit and pass out from. This happened while I was in high school. And so I'm in New York and I talked to the lady and she prescribed me birth control. And she goes, if you get really bad pain in your legs, you need to stop. I didn't realize it was about blood clots, but I found out a few years later that it was. So I started getting really bad pain in my legs. And I had a 3-month follow-up appointment and I had stopped taking the birth control at that point. And I told her, I was like, you told me about the symptom and I stopped because you said that I should stop. And she goes, you didn't have that. You shouldn't have stopped. And I was like, what are you talking about, bitch? Like, oh yeah? She was like,
were you there?
Exactly. She was like, you probably just need to eat more bananas. You're probably just cramping. In my legs?
Also, did she check for blood clots?
No.
Exactly.
Of course
you
not.
don't fucking know.
Yeah, no.
They just they just want to get you in and get you out. Like,
yeah, no, don't get me wrong. I love birth control. I love the birth control that I'm on right now. Well, I tolerate the birth control that I'm on right now. And it's very important for some women to have access to birth control. Yes. But like, it shouldn't be pushed and handled the way that it is right now.
No, and it should be given so much more information. At the very least, print out a packet and give it to you on your way out. Not the ginormous one that comes in the birth control package where the text is like this small and there's like pages and pages and pages. Just a simple, like, good things to know.
Yeah. Agreed.
Anyways, this is the birth control podcast
where we talk about birth and control and the video game. I love that game.
Birth control, the video game?
No,
it's one of my favorites.
We talk about birth, and then independently of birth, we talk about the video game called Control.
Yeah. I think, though, that we're onto something with a birth control video game.
Do you act as the birth control and it's like Space Invaders and you're like shooting away the sperm?
I think there could be multiple things. I think there could be like you could be the cause of someone else's birth control.
Okay.
You know, like you just create horrible children and like you are their birth control.
Yeah.
But then like the situation is also reversed. Like you need the birth control.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. There's a lot of good scenarios here. I think it could be multiplayer.
Let's bring this up to your video game company.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm on it. I already emailed them.
Perfect. Thank you. Andy, please sponsor this video game. In a video.
BC, the game.
And then for the sequel, we have 80, but it's not about Christ. Do you want to go first?
I do want to go first.
Okay. And I have, I can't talk. I was going to say an upbringing one. Uplifting.
Yes.
Okay.
An uplifting one.
Beautiful.
There's also a sad part of it because of how it started, but it is uplifting. So this is in White Plains, New York. The 67-year-old father of an NFL lineman, I didn't grab this NFL lineman's name, sorry, got his 1983 conviction for robbing a Mount Vernon social club overturned when he appeared in court on Friday.
Aww.
So he was convicted of robbing a social club in 1983.
Wow.
And in 2024, he's now had the conviction overturned.
It's good for him.
It's really cool. I have a very strong interest in people who are in like wrongly detained and wrongly convicted and just all that stuff I find so interesting and horrible and something that we should talk about more.
Yeah.
So his name is Jeffrey Koonce,
Okay.
Koonce. Spent nearly 8 years in prison and has always maintained his innocence. I feel new, said Koonce. I feel new again. All these years I've been telling everybody I don't know anything about what you're talking about. In 1981, 3 men robbed a social club on Sanford Boulevard, with one of them opening fire with a sawed-off shotgun that hit a teenage boy.
Oh my gosh.
He lived.
Okay.
The boy's hazy recollection formed the basis of a flawed identification of Koonce. Koonce maintained to this day he wasn't even in Mount Vernon at the time. Quote, the idea that you would just collect whatever African-American men to put in front of a traumatized witness would only lead to a miscarriage of justice, added Karen Neuwirth, Koonce's attorney, which is just a tale as old as time, done over and over and over again. Also, something I find really interesting, which at some point I would like to talk about more, is the different ways and mostly flawed ways that police present suspects to the victim and how it just doesn't fucking work the way that they do it. It's gotten better, but not everyone follows the same procedures. And your memory is not what you think your memory is, unfortunately. It's very difficult for people's memory to be trusted, especially in a traumatizing situation.
Absolutely. 100%.
All right, so Roca's conviction review unit found evidence that Mount Vernon police pressured the lone victim witness to implicate Koonce, made Koonce's picture larger than others in a photo array, and failed to interview alibi witnesses who corroborated his claim that he was elsewhere. They did not give a shit. They wanted to close the case.
We see that a lot with wrongful convictions.
Absolutely. And especially in the Black community. Like, it's easy for them to be like, especially in the 80s, Black man, put him in, like, case closed, done. No problems.
Well, there's no way a white man could have committed that crime.
Of course not. A Mount Vernon detective later lied about the composition of the photo arrays when he testified at pretrial hearings in Koonce's trial, and a court subsequently ordered the department to change its unduly suggestive photo identification practices. It was a very shaky ID situation, said Kenneth Kaufman, Koonce's attorney from the original trial, and I remember jumping up and down at the suppression hearing and making all the noises I'm supposed to make, and it didn't work, and he got convicted, and it was devastating. The detective's lies and, quote, highly suggestive photo identification techniques were part of a pattern of misconduct by detectives that deprived Koonce of a fair trial. So after being released, Koonce ran a successful extermination business and raised 6 children, including Malcolm Koonce. Now I said his name. A defensive end for the Las Vegas Raiders, and another son, Daquan Koonce, a retired New York State trooper who was assigned to protective details for Governor Kathy Hochul and former Governor Andrew Cuomo.
Wow.
I wanted to be a lawyer first, acknowledged Daquan Koonce. I wanted to be a lawyer to get my dad out of jail.
Oh.
But then I became a cop because I realized instead of being part of the problem, you can be part of the solution. And you can lead by example.
That's sweet.
Yeah, so really cool. That's the end of the story. It's a pretty short one, but it sucks that he was in prison for a number of years and he still was carrying around that conviction, because imagine trying to get a fucking job. I think it says he started his own business probably for that very reason.
It's incredibly hard for felons to get jobs.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's very frustrating. And I see it from both sides, because especially if it's a violent offender, somebody who, and not say, like, this guy was falsely convicted, but somebody who was convicted of a robbery with a gun and shooting a teenager, like, I would want to know if I was working with somebody so I could adjust my behavior or avoid that person.
And you should know about that.
Yeah, but then it's also hard because employers, they see that somebody has a felony because you have to disclose that on your application most of the time. They're just going to throw it out. Yeah, they really are.
Yeah.
And it's that time.
I've worked at places where we get people from, just off the street. Nobody needs certain experience. And you get people
that you look them up and and it's like, no, I'm not dealing with that. Yeah. But then also, like, how do you get somebody who is a felon, a convicted felon of whatever crime, it doesn't matter. How do you help them better themselves and their place in society? They've finished out rehab, which is what prison's supposed to be, rehabilitation.
Right, exactly.
It's not just punishment. It's getting somebody ready to be back out on the streets. And it's just, they're set up for failure right off the bat with shit like that.
Yeah.
And actually, my story this time is about the prison system.
Oh, let's go!
Yeah. So this isn't super in-depth. I actually was kind of fucking pissed about this one too. This is a long one, and I'm so sorry. It's borderline a full.
I kind of like that ours are a little bit related.
I wish that I had just made this into a full, and I might do a full on this later.
That's the last one too.
I know, right? I'm so sorry. I know. Well, that was the Cutie Pie Corner.
Oh, true.
Yeah. Which I don't know. I have so many things that I want to make fools on. But there is actually an issue that is pretty pervasive through our prison system where prisoners are utilized for cheap or unpaid labor. And there's also an issue where some prisons are for profit, where they earn a certain amount of money per day based on the number of inmates within. Obviously, this can cause some issues, but I really want to focus on one specific state where both of these issues are being dialed in a really weird way. And that state is Alabama. No state has a longer, more profit-driven history of contracting prisoners out to private companies than Alabama, with a sprawling labor system that dates back more than 150 years, including the brutal convict leasing era that replaced slavery. It has constructed a template for the commercialization of mass incarceration. So real quick too, prison labor is basically enshrined in the 13th Amendment to our Constitution in the U.S. So the 13th Amendment bans slavery and involuntary servitude except for those convicted of a crime. That language was also added to the Constitution of many states, though 8 of them have removed these so-called punishment clauses in recent years after taking the issue to voters. Alabama is not one of those states. This is still something that they engage in. So Best Western, Budweiser, and Burger King are among the more than 500 businesses to lease incarcerated workers from one of the most violent, overcrowded, and unruly prison systems in the U.S. In the past 5 years alone, the Associated Press found, as part of their 2-year investigation into prison labor, the cheap, reliable labor force has generated more than $250 million for the state since the year 2000 through money garnished through prisoner paychecks.
$250 million?
Yes.
And you know where that money's not going? Into prison reform and like making the prison a better place.
Of course not. No, it's going to the people that are garnishing the wages of these prisoners.
Because the private prison system is so fucked up.
It is.
I hate it.
It really and truly is.
Like, we could do several podcasts on it.
Absolutely. And I have a few different topics that I want to touch on and do like fulls on in the future. Most of these jobs where state inmates are working are inside facilities. And people can be sentenced to hard labor and forced to work for free, doing everything from mopping floors to laundry. But more than 10,000 inmates have logged a combined 17 million work hours outside Alabama's prison walls since 2018 for entities like city and county governments and businesses. While those working at private companies can at least earn a little bit of money, they face possible punishment if they refuse to work. From being denied family visits to being sent to higher security prisons, which are so dangerous that the federal government filed a lawsuit 4 years ago that remains pending, calling the treatment of prisoners unconstitutional. These prisoners, being forced to work, trying to avoid punishment if they refuse, are technically making minimum wage, which makes this legal. But the state takes 40% off the top and charges fees from the working prisoners. They charge them $5 a day for rides to and from the work sites, and sometimes $15 a month for laundry services for their work clothes.
Imagine telling someone you have to do something and then charging them to get there.
Now, I just want to, like, really quick, I'm going to get my phone out here. Let's go to the calculator, right? So minimum wage in the state of Alabama is $7.25.
Gross.
So $7.25. So
right now, like today, it's $7.25.
The federal minimum wage is $7.25.
Jesus, I thought it was more than that. It's horrible.
If the state is taking 40% off of their paycheck, I'm going to assume that's pre-taxes. That means with that 40% gone, they're making $4.35 an hour.
Plus, and then being charged to get to and from.
Yeah. So $4.35. Let's say you work 8 hours. That's like what, a little over, let's say $35. You're making $30 a day for your fucking labor
Before taxes.
before taxes.
Because you're getting taxed and then taxed again for different reasons. And I'm sure people would argue while they're in prison, they shouldn't deserve to make this money.
No.
But it is a different, like, I think that the prisoners should contribute to keeping the prison clean and, like, doing jobs within the prison. Like, you know, working the lunch line or cleaning up, like that kind of thing. But like you were saying that they're shipping them out to different places.
Right.
Like that
There's, like, some of these people were working at Burger King. Like, and what I want to say too, and I'll talk about this a little bit more, like, later on too, it'll get mentioned, but, like, being a prisoner is fucking expensive.
Yes.
I had a family member who was in prison, and I would literally, to call them and talk to them, it cost money. I was spending, and I had to limit my phone calls to this family member who was very close to me, and we were talking almost every day. I was spending about $100 every month just to talk to them.
I didn't realize it costs you money to call them.
It costs me money, or it costs the prisoner money. So if you are a low-income family, and let's say your dad or your mom is arrested and you're a kid and you want to talk to them, you might not be able to because you might not be able to afford it. And they're earning $30 a day. They might not be able to afford it either.
Holy shit. I didn't know you had to pay money do you have to pay money to go to the prison to speak to them in person?
I never did any of that.
Yeah.
I was out of the state at the time.
Right. Okay.
I don't believe so, but it's pretty strict from what I understand with the days and the times that you're allowed to visit. So it's hard.
Yeah.
Especially if, like I said, you're low income, if you don't have the means to travel back and forth, public transport, it's not very good in the US.
Yeah.
You're fucked. You might not be able to see that family member except for their court appearances if it's in those places easy to reach
like a kid or something, like, especially if we're talking about, going back to my story, someone who's wrongfully convicted and they're not even supposed to be there in the first place.
Exactly.
Also, I'm thinking about, like, a place like Burger King is where a kid in high school gets their first job.
Yep.
You're going to be working there with convicted criminals?
Apparently in Alabama you might.
Like, what if they're convicted for something really unfucking safe and you're like a 15-year-old kid?
Yeah.
Imagine sending your kid there. Like, no.
We'll talk about that a little bit later too.
Okay.
Turning down work for these prisoners can jeopardize chances of early release in a state that last year granted parole to only 8% of eligible prisoners, an all-time low and among the worst rates nationwide. Many prisoners, this is what's so ridiculous to me. And this is why, like, when you hear about for-profit prisons, like, you hear about this work program and, like, it's great that prisoners are able to make a little bit of money, right? Like, they're getting job experience. Maybe if they're being very frugal and they're not getting anything extra from the canteen or buying, you know, soaps or body wash beyond the stuff provided, you know, it's good for you. You have a couple extra bucks for when you get out. But if you're allowing prisoners to go out and work, you obviously have a little bit of faith or trust in them and expect them to be able to be a reasonable person in the real world. So these prisoners, some of them are working 40 hours a week outside their facilities and then are getting weekend passes, allowing them to go home without any supervision or electronic monitoring. So prisoners are being told they're too dangerous to be permitted released, but they're still getting to see their family outside of prison. And to me, it is such an obvious ploy for these for-profit prisons to get money for that individual technically being incarcerated at that location, while also not having to pay to do things such as feed the prisoners that aren't there that day. It's like double dipping.
Holy shit, that's wild.
Yeah. 10 current and former prisoners who filed a class action federal lawsuit last year against state officials, local governments, and businesses like McDonald's and Wendy's franchises contend they perpetuate a system of forced labor akin to, quote, modern-day slavery that keeps the best workers from being released.
Wow.
Yeah. So few prisoner advocates believe outside jobs should be abolished. In Alabama, for instance, those shifts can offer a reprieve from the excessive violence inside the state's institutions. Last year, and in the first 6 months of 2024, an Alabama inmate died behind bars nearly every day, a rate 5 times the national average. But advocates say incarcerated workers should be paid fair wages, given the choice to work without the threat of punishment, and granted the same workplace rights and protections guaranteed to other Americans. Prisoners nationwide cannot organize, protest, or strike for better conditions. They also aren't typically classified as employees, whether they're working inside correctional facilities or for outside businesses through the prison contract or release programs. So when they're injured or they have something happen, they're SOL. They can't sue anybody. There were multiple instances that I found where prisoners from Alabama were killed doing manual, like, hard labor jobs inside factories or outside during the summertime heat. Like, these conditions are sometimes absolutely horrific and entirely unfair.
is meant to take away your freedom. It's not supposed to be torture.
It really isn't. And like I said, prison is supposed to be rehab.
Yes.
Somebody, like the whole point of prison is to help somebody who committed a crime get back up on their feet and become a productive member of society.
That being said, I feel like there should be separate prisons for people that should belong there for fucking life.
I agree. And there's different levels and it's a whole thing. But like this system right here is just so fucked. So this is really just a small snippet from an article by the Associated Press. That's a just complete incredible read. I've just summarized part of it, but it's so important to recognize the prison system is literally, in some areas, legalized slavery. These people are being paid sub-minimum wage for their hard labor. Mm-hmm. I want to clarify, too, that I absolutely do believe that prison and incarceration is a necessary part of society in some cases, but it should be used as rehabilitation. We should be providing tools to those who are incarcerated to better themselves and change their roles in societies when they're able to be free.
And they absolutely should be provided basic resources.
Yeah, forcing people to work for far below minimum wage while charging insane amounts of money for phone calls to family, care products such as soap and hair wash, and other overpriced goods does not help rehab people. I cannot stress to you, there are so many people that go into prison, they do not get any support system. They get no money. They don't have any opportunity to build up their resume. When they get out, they have literally nothing.
Yeah.
They're given the clothes that were on their back and maybe some of the stuff that were in their pockets.
Much worse off.
It's awful.
Much worse off, yeah.
I have a really big bleeding heart when it comes to our prison system. It's something that really needs to be worked on in the US. And it's, in my opinion, one of our biggest failures.
Absolutely.
Right up there with healthcare and judicial system reform and better mental health services and rehab opportunities with no shame for those addicted to drugs. And what blows my mind about all of this is when you start digging in, you realize how connected it all truly is. Mm-hmm. Like all of it. So many of these things just feed directly into each other, and it just perpetuates this awful cycle that does nothing to actually help society. It just punishes those that we seem.
It's not just one thing. Like, you can't just say, like, go and fix the prison system. It all, like, it bleeds out.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, most of it can be related back to the greedy motherfuckers who are wealthy as shit and who actually run our country.
Yeah, and who lobby their state representatives to ensure that the for-profit prison systems are able to continue.
Prisons should not be for profit. Like that. Like, when I learned that, I don't know, like in my early 20s or something, that was a thing, and not realizing that these are not like state run, which there are some, but like, it's just, and if you look at some of these successful state-run ones in like European countries and stuff, not all of them, but there are some that are actually okay. Like, the comparison is disgusting.
Yeah, no,
most of our prisons, like the one I'm describing in Alabama, or like the really bad prison riot,
New York.
It was New York, where the guy died, and there was like, the really, really bad one.
Yeah.
I feel bad that I can't think of it.
It's okay.
And it's very
I know what you're talking about. I don't know the name.
But it's like they weren't being provided basic human rights.
Yeah.
And they were being tortured. Like, people were dying of just being sick from bacteria. Like, and no one was helping them. They didn't have soap. They didn't have actual food. Food was like growing with mold. Like, yeah. Anyways.
No, it's all good. I mean, this has gone on for too long. I'm really sorry that I have such a long mini and that it's dragged out for so long. Can you lighten the mood with maybe like a little Cutie Pie Corner?
Of course I can. It was a really good one. Sorry, was there something like a current event that struck that, or was it just in general that was interesting to you?
It was an article that popped up that had just come out where they were just talking about it. There was actually, what sparked the article, there were, I think it was 5 or 6 inmates in a van driving back to prison after their shift, and one of them had managed to get his hands on alcohol, the one that was driving. And he was drinking and driving, and he crashed, and everybody except for him passed away in the car crash. So they were like, why the fuck are these prisoners out driving around? What is this? What's going on?
Someone who works the prison should at the very least be driving that vehicle.
Yeah, I don't know if that's standard for the prisoners themselves to drive the vehicle, or
it shouldn't be that, though. Like, it should be regulated. It's just...
It's ridiculous.
Wild. Yes. Yeah. But very interesting and an important topic.
Yeah.
I think it is important for people to realize that, because I think a lot of people that don't know much about this, like, oh, like, send them to prison, like, just,
doesn't work like
there.
Yeah.
It's not. Yeah, exactly. So yes, I can absolutely lighten the mood with
Cutie Pie Corner. And this is a good one. It's short and sweet.
Just like Sabrina Carpenter.
Are we gonna say that every episode?
Yes.
Good.
Until she does something problematic, and then we cut it.
Ah, perfect. Did you hear that her boyfriend, the Irish guy, cheated on her?
Why would you cheat on Sabrina Carpenter?
Right? Isn't that wild? Barry
Her-
Kogan.
Give her my number.
Okay. What
Sabrina.
about this one? What about this one?
What?
No. It's like one of her like really sexy songs where she's like on stage and she's like, what about this position? What about this position?
Oh.
And there's like a bunch of videos of people doing that, but like skiing.
It's pretty funny.
All right. Missing Florida dog rings owner's doorbell to announce its return home.
Oh.
This is the cutest story ever, and I might cry while I tell it.
Oh my goodness.
A Florida dog missing for more than a week, it was 9 days, came home on Christmas Eve
Oh.
and rang its owner's doorbell to announce its return. I'm going to show you the video in a little bit.
Oh my god, there's a video?
Yes,
Oh.
it's like a ring doorbell.
I love that.
So, quote from the owner, it was about 2:30 a.m. She came pawing at the door, ringing the doorbell. Brooke Comer told the local television KSBW, so Brooke Comer is the owner.
Mhm.
This was Christmas Eve. And then that morning I woke up to, she had made it on everybody's ring cameras. So the dog, a 4-year-old German Shepherd named Athena, was lost on December 15th, which prompted a frantic search.
Mhm.
The owner said people all the way from Jacksonville and St. Augustine were inboxing me and helping her search for the dog.
That's so sweet.
Comer said Athena's 2 a.m. return woke up her whole family. She was saying in the video, she was trying not to wake the kids because it's Christmas Eve, but they all woke up, which is honestly very
Yeah.
sweet. Like,
That's a good reason to wake up on Christmas Eve.
absolutely. Something to note in here, which was from one of our earlier episodes. We were saying that you should microchip your dogs. It might just identify you if you're murdered. Athena was not fitted with a microchip to help identify her.
Oh.
Comer said they would make sure to get that done over the holiday period to prevent further escapades. All right, so let me pull up the video.
Please.
All right,
Well,
so I will put this this video on the screen for you to watch.
There's Christmas lights. It's green outside. This is obviously nighttime. Oh, she walks up to the door and she like knocks on the
Rings
door.
doorbell.
Oh my
And
goodness.
she's kind of panting, like a little frantic. Please let me in.
Oh my god, she jumps up.
At the door.
Oh, that dog is so
And
nervous.
that's the owner talking to the
Oh,
news
she
station.
looks like her dog.
I love it when people look like their dogs. You look a little bit like Izzy.
I know, and unfortunately, Izzy and I share a lot of personality traits in common. We both pee when we're excited.
Haley pees every time she comes over to my house.
I do. Harmony opens the door, and her dogs greet me, and I get so nervous, and I just kind of pee.
It's true.
There's a little puddle on the ground. She always has to clean it up. She goes, Haley, bring your own cloth. I go, no, it's yours. This is a gift from Harmony to you.
I'm the visitor. Clean up my mess.
Izzy.
I'm the guest. Literally. Bless her.
That's so sweet.
Somebody once said I look like baby, which I don't really see.
I can kind of see it. No.
She looks like
She has a like really bad RBF.
she looks like Marty Feldman. Some people might be too young to know who that is.
I don't know who
You
that
don't know
is.
who it is?
No, let me Google it
She's
really
from
quick.
Young Frankenstein and a bunch of other movies, but he has eyes that kind of go in different directions, and her eyes go a little bit in different directions.
A little bit. No, these.
That's baby, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's a baby.
It's a very sweet dog, though. I love that dog.
Oh, she's the best.
She's pretty good. Well, I guess that's it.
That's it for Cutie Pie Corner and our mini episode.
Yeah,
The mini weird.
the miniature weird.
Thank you for joining us in your small mini capacity.
We appreciate you listening to our roughly 30 to 45 minutes long minis.
Mini episode, yeah.
Yes.
They are indeed mini. They may not seem like it, but trust us, they are.
Mini but mighty.
Short and sweet.
Mini but mighty.
Like Sabrina Carpenter.
That's her if she ever starts doing heavy metal.
Imagine. Thanks for joining.
And keep on
Making it weird. Bye.